I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call this meeting West Orange City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Crowner.
Here.
Raleigh.
Here.
Stewart. Lees.
Here.
West.
Here.
Need to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
There's a motion with support. Any discussion?
Loud.
Brad, can you hear me? Get a little loud in here.
We're a little loud.
Is that better? Still a little loud.
At least it's not.
Test. Yeah.
He's messing with it, Ringo.
Yeah, he's working on it.
Is there any discussion? I guess I can sit way back.
Like I say, you and I are gonna have to do way back.
Roll call.
Crowner.
Aye.
Raleigh.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
West.
Right.
Carried. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve as presented.
Sword.
Motion with support to approve consent agenda items 1 through 11, which are the minutes of the regular city council meeting on October 5th, 2012. Approved Officer Dunham's attendance at an interview and interrogation training. Approved Division Chief Barnett and Battalion Chief Ryan's attendance at the Fire Service Instructor Conference. Approve payment to City of Burlington for countywide communications. Approve payment to Des Moines County Regional Waste Commission for waste management fees. Approve a payment to the Iowa Department of Transportation for calcium chloride. Approve a payment to the Iowa Department of Transportation for blade drags. Approve a payment to Burlington Municipal Water Works, and approve another payment to Burlington Municipal Water Works. Approve the clerk's monthly financial report for September 2012, and approve the claims in the amount of $130,503.30. That breaks down to the general fund, $64,899.37, road use, $9,984.74, 2011 general obligation bond, $53, water, $38,262.28, the Beaverdale escrow, 1975, Westwood escrow, 1975, Woodsman escrow, 1975, sewer, $13,570.95, risk management self-insurance, $3,415.60, flex account, $210, 4th of July celebration, $48.11. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Raleigh.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carried. At this time, I'm going to open a vicious animal appeal hearing. Mr. Joshua Smith at 115 South Sunset Drive is appealing the vicious animal ordinance that was imposed upon his dog by Chief Newberry. Frank, you want to fill the council in, fill the audience in on how we got to this point?
Okay, on May 7th, 2012 and September 20th, 2012, two separate incidents occurred where the dog owned by Joshua Smith of 115 South Sunset was biting two victims. So on October 2nd, I drafted a letter declaring the dog vicious under City Code Section 56. That was served by Sergeant Ryan on 10/3 of 2012 to the dog's owner, Joshua Smith. On October 4th, 2012, Joshua Smith gave a written appeal to present his case to the City Council on October 17, 2012. On October 5th, 2012, the West Burlington Police Department notified by mail residents in the Sunset area, informing them of the public meeting, and if they had any comments, pro or con, about this animal in their neighborhood, they could submit their views on the matter in person, by writing, or by representation before or on October 17, 2012. And I have received 5 separate letters that you all received from 5 residents out there, and they were all towards calling calling the dog vicious, basically.
Is Mr. Smith here? Would you like to state your case, please, why your dog shouldn't be declared vicious? And yeah, please, come up here and sit down, state your name and address, please.
My name is Joshua Smith. I live at 115 South Sunset Drive, West Burlington, Iowa.
You can sit back a little bit,
Back.
that thing will pick up.
Okay. The reason that everybody in my neighborhood thinks that my dog is vicious, because I've never had him on a leash, and he chases the cars and stuff out there, and he has been a menace before. Just recently, he did bite, or I don't believe that he bit the little girl, but the other incident of the bite happened, and he's here right now, and the facts that were in that case that the police had written down and that were in that thing are not all of the facts are there. My grandma was watching my son, and Ryan Heinzel came to my house. He told me he was looking for a ride or something, but I wasn't even there. I was at work. And he knocked on the windows and knocked on the doors, and then it kind of, freaked my dog out. And then he went, and then my grandma opened the lower garage door, and he'd walked in, just took one step to come knock on the basement door, and then that's when my dog bit him. So I feel that that one was kind of provoked. And as for the other one, I don't believe that he bit her. I saw it firsthand. I was right there when it happened, and it looked, he just jumped up, and he had long claws, and he didn't claw at her. He just jumped at her, and I believe that he just, when he was coming down, he scratched her. Because I even talked to the parents of the little girl, and they said that they were lacerations. They were 3-inch lacerations. Now, I've talked to many people, and they said if he would have bit her, it would have been more deep puncture wounds. And I'm not saying that any of that is, right. I mean, my dog shouldn't have done any of that. But, I mean, it's just the facts aren't right there. And I know that he's been, but I've never had him on a leash before. He just kind of had... And I have letters. He's like right now. He's up at PAWS in an obedience school right now. He got an evaluation, and we have that letter. And we have a letter that the professionals up there, the dog trainers, have said that he is not vicious at all. He's just nervous, and he's just very protective of the property and stuff. And it's just that's the thing. He wasn't on a leash that evening, and that's my fault. And I got a dog at large ticket for that, and I paid and I got a fine for it, and that's still and. I don't know. I just love that dog more than anything. I've raised him since he was 5 weeks old. He's just not a vicious dog. And I have 7.5 acres of land for him to take walks on. He'll never be out in the public. He will be on our property at all times. We have a 9-foot kennel out back that's 50 foot long by 20 foot wide. I've always let him just kind of have free run of it, and I know that I can no longer do that. And I have letters from people just stating how good of a dog he is and how amazing he is, the best dog. That's where he just gets.
You have those letters with you?
I do.
Got copies for
And then I had another neighbor out there who was going to write a letter, but his printer broke on right before. Would you like?
Now, if we can make some copies of it.
You want me to make
Kelly
one?
or Frank, you want to make some copies?
Sure.
What kind of breed is it?
He is a boxer, an American bulldog.
Here's pictures of him. I brought some pictures of our property and the kennel.
Would you like to see all those as well?
I'll just hang on a minute, and unless, council wants to see some of these things. I guess first thing, even though you're outside of the main part of the city, you're still in the city, and we do have a leash law, so that leash law should have been obeyed. So letting the dog run loose, that's,
Yeah, and that was my fault. That was my irresponsibility.
so, we want to get that straightened out. And there isn't anybody that sits up here on this council table that wants to destroy a dog. Let me put that. We've had this, conversation before with somebody else that's had dog declared vicious in town. It's, when a dog does bite somebody, we've got to take it seriously, especially if there's complainants. And this time around, we've received about 5 letters of, from people out in your neighborhood saying that, things that have been occurring with that dog when he's running loose, that
Right,
he's
and that's-
going into attack mode, coming at people, and they're scared to death, and we don't want anybody to get hurt, and we don't
See,
sure as
that's-
heck don't want that.
But see, that's my fault for not having him on a leash. I know I can control that dog. I just have
Well,
to,
what's the guarantee that you're gonna keep him on a leash,
Oh,
or
I
keep him
guar-
in that kennel,
I 100% guarantee it. My house is like a prison. He stays in the basement at all times, and there's at least 2 doors before he can even get out of the basement, so there's no chance of him randomly escaping. I have a harness on him. I didn't used to, but I bought a harness on him. He's got a harness on him. It's a 5-point harness. It goes around his entire body. There's no way he can get on that, and I put that leash on him before he even exits the basement.
But that one time that the gentleman did get bit, was at the door.
I was at work, and my grandma was there watching my 4-year-old son, and the doorbell was ringing. He went to both doors. You can ask him. He's right there if you want to ask him exactly what happened.
But the point is, you didn't do anything about it. You didn't restrain the dog. You didn't put up a big fence. You didn't make sure it was on a leash. You're coming here today because you're at the very end of this situation, saying what you're going to do from here forward.
He was inside my house. Do I have to have him on a leash inside my house?
We've got letters here from
Well-
a number of people in your neighborhood that are afraid to walk in your neighborhood because of your dog. You haven't done anything in the past to alleviate their concerns or their fears. We've got these letters saying, on date certain, this dog
I
bit
wish-
me, this dog came charging at me.
I wish
You
they would
had
have
to
presented me with
remove some of
those.
this stuff because it was addressed to you and you didn't do anything about it. But you're here tonight telling us you're going to, going forward.
Yeah, and I was never, those concerns were never raised to me personally. No, if somebody would have called and it came to me and told me that they don't feel safe to walk the streets, then I would have most definitely restrained the dog.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, man.
I know what my dog did was wrong, but I know that I can fix it, and I know that I can make it better, and I can guarantee you that it won't happen again.
Well, as the mayor said, none of us take this lightly. I've made a bunch of phone calls asking folks, your decisions are very limited. The dog needs to leave West Burlington, it needs to be euthanized, or it needs to go to some kind of an agency which isn't going to release him back into the town. I mean, you're very limited as to what you can do. I called the Animal Protection League, the Des Moines County Humane Society, the Animal Rescue League. There just isn't anybody that wants your dog.
Nobody knows besides the
Okay.
people that don't like him, nobody else.
I'm trying to, because I love dogs too, I'm trying to find something we can do with your dog to keep it from being euthanized. Everyone that I spoke to, that, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, but the people I spoke to today, 2 veterinarians and the Animal Humane Rescue guy there in Burlington, they all told me that the problems occurred before today. The training of the dog, that had to have happened before today. You're telling us that it's now in a dog obedience school. We'd probably have
Well,
to,
he's not in obedience school. He's there for an evaluation.
where's that at again?
Paws in Fort Madison, Iowa.
One of those letters talks about it, Dan.
And it's
They
direct-
try not to kill animals because very big-hearted people that run a shelter, a humane society shelter, yeah. Not
But-
what I would call a real,
Well, I'm willing.
Unbiased.
Well, I'm willing to take him to do whatever I need to do. Because moving him into Burlington is not going to be a solution to the problem. We have enough land.
well,
As long as he's on a leash and contained.
if it's deemed vicious in Burlington, there's no gray area. It will be confiscated, deemed to be vicious or not. If it's vicious, it's destroyed. If it's not, it's given back to you. West Burlington is a little different. Our city code's a little different, so that's why you're here before us. But I am very much of the opinion, I don't want a vicious animal anywhere in our city. Our police department has deemed this to be a vicious animal. I've got 5 letters here from citizens that are your neighbors that are afraid. You're going to have to tell me a lot more than you have so far to get me convinced that we need to do something other than getting this dog out of town. I'm
scared for my dog's life right now. there's no way I would ever let him out of that house without a leash, and there's no way that he could get out of that house without a leash on. There's simply no way. It's just the reason all of this has occurred, it's been my fault because I have allowed him to run free. Because I thought we had a big enough yard that he could run, and he doesn't chase everything. It's just because we have trees along the entire border of the land. It's just the only time he ever chases anything is if he sees it through the drive, like where the trees stop and the drive, and that's been the problem. And I'm gonna do everything that I can to fix that problem. I'll do anything that I have to do. If I have to put up an invisible fence around my house, if I have to fence in the whole yard, I will pay to do that.
The only thing I had to say about it is you should have done it the first time. Okay? So you wouldn't have had to been here. First time, you should have
So
made sure the leash of the dog, you should have had it on a leash in the first place. Second, when an incident happened, you make sure that the second time was leashed. Put signs up that says beware of the dog, and you didn't. And then you have to have police officers that go out and take care of the business, which once the police officers go in and they say it's a vicious dog, then I have to read their report.
I was not even home when the first incident occurred. I didn't get a police report. I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't there. I wasn't talked to by an officer. I was not informed by any.
Nobody said anything about first time to you?
My grandmother did, yes.
Okay, that was first time.
But
Did you get a copy of these, Freddie? No, I did not. Would you in particular read that one? Josh, that handwritten letter you gave us that's in that group, who's that from? I didn't see a name on that. And who are those people?
Andrew Davis. Friend that's been around the dog plenty to know.
Okay.
If anybody ever met my dog, they'd know he wasn't vicious.
I don't know, as I read this one paper from one of your neighbors, it looks like he's had 3 incidents with your neighbor, and I don't think he's in love with your dog.
Well, he's never came up and actually met. So I mean, it's been my fault because I haven't had him on the leash. I can guarantee now that he will never leave the house without a leash on.
You've had that dog there for 5 years?
5 years, yes.
You live there full-time, Joshua?
For right now, yes. I plan on moving out in the spring. So really, it'd only be keeping him there until the spring, and then I'd have him. But I mean, that's probably the best place for him, really. Because if you go into Burlington or anywhere else, it's just house, 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 house.
So if you move, what do you plan on doing with the dog?
And same thing I'm going to do in there. Keep him on a leash, build a fence around the yard, keep him in a kennel. Just ensure that he can't get out. I just gave him way too much freedom when he was younger. And that was not the best idea on my part.
I think your mom wants, you want to say something, Sherry? Yeah, please.
I'll try not to get emotional.
It's an emotional subject.
Yes, it is. I don't know that Josh supports this, and I guess I really haven't said this to him, although I think that he knows this. If you guys would feel safer with me owning the dog instead of Josh, I would love to do that. I would love to take control of him. I promise you, I will control the dog. People in the neighborhood have seen me out with the harness, with the general leader on him. I walk him all the time on a leash. He cannot get out of my house or out of that outside kennel. He never has escaped the house or the kennel. I promise you. I promise you. I will take responsibility. I don't know if I turned it in or not, a copy of our insurance, just so that you know that we have lots of insurance, and, you know, I hope you're not worried about financial obligations to the city, because I'm fully responsible to take care of that. That Josh is right. Where we are is the best place for the dog. He can easily be controlled. If you look at those pictures, we've got lots and lots of ground to walk him on. He doesn't even have to
haven't
leave
even
our
seen the
7. He
pictures
doesn't
yet.
even have to leave our property, and he can
Would
be
you wanna see-
walked and walked and walked and
We all
walked.
know what kind of dog it is. I mean, we
He's-
can
he's-
look at the pictures,
he's-
but
I mean, it's got pictures of my land and the kennel.
I think we're all familiar with, you know, where you live and
It just,
how much ground you
it's
do
been
that.
negligence on Josh's part, and Josh is not lying that, I mean, I've known that he's ran around the neighborhood, but we've never had anybody come up to us and say, except one time, not too long ago, the neighbor did yell across to keep the dog in the yard. But over the 5 years, we haven't had people calling us or complaining to us. And believe me, if they had, I would have taken it seriously. I do know the dog, he is nervous and he's protective, I know that. But I'm willing to put money and time and investment. And I hope you believe that I'm a responsible person, and I mean that. I'll sign anything you want me to sign, saying if he's even seen out running again, you can take the dog. Whatever I need to do to save the dog.
I'll sign that too.
But we're sworn to protect the citizens of West Burlington, not the
Yes.
dogs of West Burlington.
And I swear to protect the citizens of my neighborhood as well. I will never, ever let that eat.
I feel terrible.
Yeah, I feel terrible about him doing that to her. And
The grandmother of the 13-year-old that was bit has written us a letter saying she can't sit on her porch anymore. I mean, these are your breakers, your letters are commendable that you got neighbors to do that. But
No, I
there's
have
people that
talked-
are afraid to walk down the street. And
When-
are you
when he- when he-
poo-pooing them? Are
when
you
he's-
saying that they
when-
don't have a right to?
well, they do have a right. And when he's off a leash, he didn't.
For 5 years, he's been off a leash, breaking the law. But you're telling us now
Well,
that's all gonna change. I got a problem with that.
It is all gonna change. I've never known it would get to this point, and I'm sorry, and I wish it never would have. So, I mean, I wish I could go back in time and do it all over again. But I can change the future.
Just Josh always thought that the dog, would just come back when he called him or, whatever, and he just let it, I mean, we do have a lot of property, and he just thought, we didn't realize what a big problem it is, or has been, I guess. I feel terribly, terribly guilty, but all I can do, I can't go back, all I can do is promise you I will take that's my property, that's my house, and I will take responsibility for the dog. I'll sign anything you want that if you see him out running, he's gone. I know that dog is a good dog and he's worth being saved. And I would feel better about him being with me at my house than Josh taking him into the Burlington or wherever he ends up moving. It's not a good idea.
I don't know, I think if we deem him vicious here, he's not gonna be looked on so favorably in Burlington.
Or he's been deemed vicious.
It seems like he's had this progression of attacks and bites from about September, August on. I don't know. When I read these letters, these 5 letters from the people that have taken the time to come up and talk about their safety and security, I can't help but not put myself in their position and worry about my children or my animals that I have. If I walk my 3 Scotties and they're ankle biters, they're not very big. I mean, if I walk him in the street and I've got all these dogs that are not on leashes coming after us, I can't pick up all three of them at the same time. They're threatened and I'm threatened. And the purpose of the leash law is to protect your dog and mine, so that you have the liberty to have your dog and I have the liberty to have mine and not feel threatened or attacked by anybody else's dog.
I agree. And I apologize that I haven't had him on the leash this whole time.
So then, what do we convey to these people that have been attacked and threatened? Like, you know what, your complaints are minor, it's this poor dog.
No, it's not, their complaints aren't minor, but I just know that I can fix it and make it to where they don't have to be. The only reason they're afraid is because he was off a leash. If he's on a leash, they have nothing to worry about. He doesn't even attempt to chase a car, attempt to do anything when he's on a leash. He's a lot calmer and he's a lot better and he's a lot better, or much more well-behaved when he's on a leash.
Contrary to what you tell me, Josh, and the letters that I have received, they've all stated that Rook has been off the leash.
He has been off the leash.
So has he been off the leash forever and a day? I mean, at some point with some of these people that have talked to you and reported about it, that someone would get smart and lock him up or keep him in a fenced-in yard or something.
He's been on a leash the last 3 weeks since all this has happened, and there hasn't been one issue in the last 3 weeks. I know it's been only 3 weeks, but you got to start. I mean, and if there's continually no, it's just, if he's on a leash, there'll be no incidents.
You know, I've talked to the grandma and about the dog, and she's told me that he's run up to her yard and that, and she did not make it sound like she was threatened to me. I mean, I talk to her all the time. She's told me that, you know, she tells the dog to go home and that kind of thing, but she really, I swear to God, she's never told me she's threatened by me. If
So
she's
then-
saying that now,
Not what she put in writing
well,
on the
and
14th
I
of
don't
this
doubt
month.
she put it in writing, but I talk to her frequently, and she's never told me that.
So when I read the thing from the Fort Madison Paw that says that he's very protective of his surroundings and possessions, does the possessions include the house across the street? I mean, where does it draw the line of his surroundings? I mean, is the whole community out there his surroundings? Does he not know the difference between his property and somebody else's property, that he just scurries across the street and bothers other people and their property?
He seemed to always have an issue, like if people were walking towards our property. So when they
Well, you had-
like close to our driveway, that's when, you know, he seemed to.
See, this is the one that got me here, is that when the dog came up behind me and started barking and growling, when I raised my cane, which I know a dog doesn't like canes.
Cane?
Cane, C-A-N-E, okay?
Cane walking.
And when that person raised the cane, the dog stopped. All right, Old Wood stopped. Now, I don't know when this incident happened, it says October 14th. But when that incident happened, dogs don't like canes at that time. So if a dog gets that in its mind, then it will actually attack people, because all people, he thinks that has a cane more likely. That I've been around a dog where it was beaten prior to the person getting it. Luckily, the dog got along with me very well, but it had to be made sure it was tied up and leashed, because when at one time this elderly gentleman walked up, he had a cane in his hand, and the dog went after him at that time and went over the fence. Okay. So, I mean, I'll go back to what I stated first, is that there's several incidents that happened. And if the grandmother would have gone ahead and told you the first time, you needed to tie that dog up, you needed to put signs in, you needed to do everything that you could to make sure that dog is happy when you come home and it's still tied up or down in the basement or any place where you're at. That's the way it should be, not running around on 7 acres of land.
And I have made a huge mistake by letting him do that.
So. And then when police officers come out and see you and come back and report us, and we get a report that the dog has bitten somebody or has attacked somebody or come up behind people, you know, I have to look at what they wrote too, compared to what you do too. But
Yeah, you've got every right to be mad at the system. The way this is all set up, it's a reactive thing. There's no attempt to avoid this problem before it becomes a major problem. It gets to this point where we have to sit here and make a decision none of us want to make. But to me, again, it comes humans before animals. This has been deemed by our police department to be a vicious animal, so I haven't heard anything that changed my mind. I'm really sorry.
You guys, can you say anything?
Ma'am, could you please state your name and address?
I've never really had an issue with the dog, and I know when Ryan was bitten, I was upset about it, but then I found out more of the details, and, I'm sure he did provoke the dog, right? I mean, my dog in the house would be going nuts if somebody went around and ringing all the doorbells and knocking on the doors and stuff. And, that's what he did. He didn't realize that his grandmother was there with the little child. She was looking for Josh. And so, and the dog wasn't outside of the house. It was at the door. And that's, the worst back then. And like I said, I've never had an issue, but I go walk up and down the street either. I don't really go for walks, so I don't have a problem, with it.
If you would consider,
is there somebody else who would like to talk?
Yeah. State your name and address, please.
My name is Kate Schiff. My address is 201 Shady Lane. My daughter was the second one who was attacked, and I wanted to clarify that it was indeed a dog bite. It was confirmed by the pediatrician during the follow-up appointment.
Your daughter was the 13-year-old on the buttocks? Okay.
And she's terrified. She does not want to walk home from the bus. She's afraid that dog is going to get her again.
Kathy was with her when the bite took place. He was there.
We've had several neighbors that heard the dog barking and screaming.
Could you tell me what day that was?
I believe it was September, it was a Sunday night, and I believe it was September 30th. I'm not sure the exact date.
Toward the end of the month?
Yes.
Okay. September 20th.
September 30th.
I have a September 20th down here.
30th. 13-year-old juvenile female.
Yeah, September 20th, I gave you the report to that, let me look it up real quick.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's September 20th. Would have to be the last report.
That's okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, that would have been my misprint. It says on 9/30, 2012. It was summoned to Great River Medical Center, emergency room, for a victim of dog bite. That would have been my fault, I'm sorry. It was 9:30, and the call time came in at 22:11.
And when I contacted them on the phone to ask how the little girl was doing, Herb, the father, actually told me that the doctors couldn't distinguish a bite from a dog laceration or a scratch. He told me that they could not confirm whether it was a dog bite or a dog scratch.
she's saying at the follow-up they did.
Well, I'm not so sure that matters.
Well, then by our vicious dog rule, it really doesn't, because the vicious dog rule says a bite or a claw, either one,
He just
is the same. I'm just saying.
It's not like
I'm just
he-
saying, it doesn't, for the police to make a decision, it doesn't really matter, because if your dog attacks somebody in any form, whether it bites them or claws them, it's the same underneath our code, right or wrong. I'm just telling you, that's how the code reads. I'm not inclined to change the police's decision. I've suggested to Frank that he read these letters that we got from the family that we've not had before. I think, you know, he ought to read those, and if he deems there's something in there, especially the one from Sherry, the mom, saying she'd take over ownership of the dog, if he deems that to be different, then I guess that's his decision to make. But we have a code, and it's pretty clear, and I would be inclined to favor however the police decide to handle this. But I have asked Frank to look at those letters that they presented us tonight, because, you know, I think that's only fair.
What if they're, like I said, we were getting another one from another neighbor, but his printer quit right before when I went to pick up the letter. And he's another neighbor, another resident out there in the neighborhood.
Frank, really what I want you to consider, just from this point forward, I can guarantee that dog will be controlled.
Okay.
I will put money, time, whatever I have to do.
And like I said when we talked earlier, that I look at the code and it matches the code, and I really can't get into the future or take that risk or responsibility for one person to say, okay, and I don't want to be put in that position as one person to say, okay, I'm saying you have your appeal. It's like getting a speeding ticket, I guess. I give you a speeding ticket. You have a right to accept it, just like I gave you the letter. You have a right to accept it or to appeal my decision. I don't want to go back on the original reason why I made the decision is because it fits the code. I perfectly accept what the council says, just like I would accept what a judge said on a simple speeding ticket. You have the right to repeal, but as law enforcement officer, you never want to get into being a judge. On my street, I tell my guys that all the time. We're not a judge. We don't make the decision. We make the decision if we feel there's probable cause to believe that a law was broken or a city code. And that's what we've taken an oath to uphold. So in order with that, I say it fits the code, and that the council would have to make the decision as to whether that they extend that and take that risk to go, just like a judge would say, okay, I accept that you won't speed anymore, dismiss it.
But if they're saying that one was provoked, then couldn't
The
you
code
go
It's
back?
still, if you read the code, it doesn't take two. That's my personal, what I put as my personal to judge whether the dog was vicious or not. And I'm very lenient, but I could have done it at the first one or at any attack. But I want to always see if the owner will take responsibility, that knows that this is going on, and you knew it was going on, Josh, and give the owner everything to make his responsible decision by himself without being prodded. And that's the whole point of growing up and making a decision, is to see where you were at it. And it's come down to where, as far as the police department is concerned, you didn't make that decision until I had to force it by writing the vicious letter, when it should have been made a long time ago. But it doesn't change the fact that if it fit the code right up to now, and you had the right to appeal and have the council listen to that and listen to see whether they accept it or not and go on.
Ringo, you got a comment?
Ringo Coburn, I live at 3115 West Mount Pleasant Street. All I can do is, I live 2/10 of a mile away from Josh, and I've had encounters with the dog professionally, and only one encounter with the dog personally. And when I was it personally, my wife and I were in Mammy Smith. She does take the dog for a walk, and she did take extra precautions, as she said, when she does. And she would walk the dog down the lane that comes to our dead end where our home is. And I don't even know if she can remember or not. It's been about 8-9 months ago. She was walking the dog, and when we were going westbound, she was walking the dog eastbound, and the dog started lunging towards the van, and he was driving by her. Now, that's only happened one time, and I've seen her when I was in my squad car on duty walking down the lane, and she's got the dog under control at the time. Now, previously, about 2 years ago, there's an incident. At that time, it was a lieutenant, and we were in some chief, when we responded to that, and had his dog out there, and we had to make sure the dog was kept. One of his friends had to escort the dog away because the dog would not let us get close, and we were actually on the roadway. We were not even on the property. And then I also handled an incident a couple years ago, what we call a log entry. It's about a year and a half ago. Family made a complaint, the dog charged them, and concerning, it's one of the letters, but it was involving where he was chasing the female, and then the male had to interrupt and stop the dog from charging them. And so those are instances I personally have been involved professionally and
Why am I just hearing about these now?
I'm just, I guess, disappointed that my neighbors didn't come to me and tell me these things. I mean, I knew that he ran around the neighborhood and stuff, but like I said, nobody told me.
I mean,
about these
kids,
specific
little kids still
incidents.
come to our doorstep and sell candy bars. I mean, it's obviously not.
I know I can make it right. You know, whether Josh will or not, I know I can.
And I will.
I'm just frustrated.
Well, from what I can hear from coming from the council here is that, I think they're going to reverse the decision that's been made, and I would just like to add, I think if we can give Josh the time to find a placement, like 7 days, and if he can find a placement for the dog, then I would be all in favor of going that route. Like I said, I don't want to destroy an animal.
Can I have a probationary period to show you that the dog can be controlled?
I don't think that's even on the table here, Josh. I think the dog needs to go. From what I, get from the council members here, they don't want to see the dog inside the city limits. But I don't want to destroy it, but if it comes down to it, after 7 days, if the dog's still in the city limits, then, even though our ordinance says 3 days, I would be happy to grant an extra 4 or 5 days for you to see that you can get a home for the dog.
And I really hate to say, but I have to agree with the mayor at that time. I mean, there was things that you could have done and should have done, but after all the letters and the witnesses and everything else, I have to go along. At least we're not putting it to death, but with the idea of you finding another home so that someday maybe that you get a different job or something, and then the dog can go with you. I'm sorry.
We, for an agreement of the 7 days.
That's what that's my recommendation. It's not what the code says, but
I'd go along with that. That's, I think, very.
And we're already past, the 3 day, we're in the
Such a
appeal
vicious-
period, so that 3 day in the ordinance, it gives you the right to appeal, and basically I would give them another 7 days to find a home, and hopefully he can find a home.
It's going to be tough.
Motion or anything on
Not really.
The appeal's been denied, basically.
I guess if there's no objections to the 7 days, I'll write that in the hearing, in the notice. Is that fine?
that? 7 days is fine.
Thank you for everyone coming. And the next item on the agenda, how about if we go to citizen inquiries, just take that ahead of
Good idea.
the public hearing, so then Mary's been sitting patiently. So anyone wishing to address the councils can do so at this time.
Thank you. I'm just, I'm here to extend the invitation to you all and the citizens of West Burlington to an open house and ribbon cutting at the airport Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We have completed the taxiway rehabilitation project, so that is the project that you guys help us fund. So we just want to show that off, and Jet Air has been at the airport or with Southeast Air Regional Airport for 5 years, so
Great.
I'm here just to extend that invitation. I hope I can see you there.
Ready?
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mary, for
How'd
coming
the
out.
air show go? Was it financially a success?
It was in the black.
So they'll do it again? Maybe?
Give her a few days. Yeah, let me catch my breath on that one, but yeah, certainly we look at every other year for that.
Okay.
So it turned out great. I was really excited for it. And a lot of great volunteers to make that a success.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Well coordinated.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
All right, public hearing. Public hearing number 1 is on the 2012 amendment to the West Burlington Urban Renewal Plan to facilitate the use of tax increment financing for the Broadway Street Reconstruction Realignment Project. We'll open the public hearing. Did we receive any comments on that?
No.
Verbal comments from anybody in the audience? Any comments from the council? Close the public hearing. Okay. So the next thing on there is the resolution trying to find this thing here.
I actually put both public hearings first on, I don't know, and then.
Oh, okay, 'cause we're on down, okay. I was going through and scrolling through this, all right.
I've done that in the
We'll
past.
close that public hearing. We'll open the second public hearing on the proposal to enter into a loan agreement in the principal amount not to exceed $3,750,000 to facilitate the construction of a new public works facility. May I receive any written comments? Anyone wishing to make comment? Public. Close that public hearing. Committee reports. Finance, Rod, you got anything?
I don't have anything new, sir. Leslie's not here. I don't know if Dan does or not.
I do not.
I guess I could have brought it up when we were approving the agenda, but I just seen this report. I don't think everybody had a chance to look at it, and we've got it on there to
Did we
approve.
send out the proof?
Yeah.
It shouldn't have changed from the proof, but.
Well, you sent one that was on the computer that I didn't even look at.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to open up 49 pages. So,
I did.
and was told in my memo that I would be receiving a hard copy, so, no, I have
That's
not
what
looked at it.
I kinda,
They did this different than they've ever done it this year. I'm not sure why, but that was kind of, so.
I like to go to the end and look backwards to see if
yeah,
there's
that's
any
what I do
problem.
too.
I was very happy to see that they had not signaled out to the fire department's lack of, thank you, fire department, the firefighters association.
So I've
And there we are with six members of the council or city staff late on their, at some point during the year on their water bills. You know, They've got to dig through and find that one. But other than that, it's a pretty doggone good-looking report, I think.
It was, as far as I'm concerned, it was a good report.
Well, when we get to item number 8 under old business, I was gonna, if anybody had objections, I was gonna have a table till the next meeting.
What I was gonna ask,
Give you a
but
chance to go through it.
It is the one that I sent out, the file that I sent out.
Yeah, but like Rod said, you know,
yeah, I didn't even attempt to
I looked
open
at a
up 40
couple of,
pages.
the last page, and that was about it. That's that's the first thing I do, is look at the last page.
If
to
there's a
see
problem.
If there's a problem. I mean, look at the,
The first couple and the last two are, you know,
It was a quiet afternoon, I did read it,
With your feet up.
before football practice.
anyway, anything else for finance? Streets? Got anything? correct?
No, I didn't, and Randy is not here, and Dan, did Randy have anything?
Nope. Things are good. Brad's out sweeping like crazy. Leaves are falling.
Anybody have anything for streets? Public safety. There you go, Teresa.
I don't have anything, but I got a police chief and a battalion chief tonight. Nice to see you.
Go ahead, Frank.
I just have one thing, and I'm kind of looking for direction from the council. It's that time of year, and businesses ask to hire a private police officer that's off duty if we have that. Our officers has shown some interest, only if they're not needed at the police department. We have in the past sometimes made deals, other chiefs before us priced us way out of the market, so they've hired sheriff's departments for it. And other times, it was the officers had to go out and make their own deal and had to go and get their own workman's comp insurance, and that just never worked because nobody wanted to do that. What I'm proposing is that we at least break even, like for Walmart would like to hire an off-duty officer, and officers have shown interest in doing that, and that they pay back to the general fund their overtime wages, or time and a half wages, plus their retirement and their workman's comp. And I had talked to finance, Leslie, and she gave me a figure, and we'll get down to the nitty-gritty, but all that to break even for the city would be like $42.50. And talking to Walmart, and I know Target has in the past asked, and it's even come down, sometimes we hear from Dairy Brothers and other businesses, only within the West Burlington where they're having a large event, will there be a lot of people there. In the past, we've done our own overtime for the increase in calls that's during that time, and this might help offset that. Granted, it would make the officer stationed right to that business for during the 12-hour period or whatever hours they decide to hire it. But the city would break even and come out of our overtime wage, but then be put back in by that company into the general fund. And I was just wondering if we had any objections or give me any directions. You don't like it?
I think it's a great idea.
The only thing that with the previous chief and that, with the previous chief that we had before, is that with minus the one person, that we were going to use those people to cover for us. So based on yours, we should be able to cover both ways then.
We should,
okay?
yeah, we'll never leave our shift short, and even
Okay.
if it'll be known that if there's an emergency that pops up, they have to leave that job and their pay will stop with that
Okay.
business at
Because
that
I know
time.
it was brought up between you two, is that the idea that, we could drop that as a Walmart or anything and take care of the overtime and that stuff with the other officers, but if you think it's going, I'm fine with it. Okay?
And one of the things is that it doesn't matter if they have a deputy there or an officer from another department, we're still going to be the ones responsible to
Still,
take the call.
it's our jurisdiction, we'll just be called by an officer.
Might as well be there and get some extra revenue.
And it also gives the officers extra pay.
Mm-hmm.
Reference that.
I
As
mean,
long as they are allowed out if we've got an emergency.
Okay, I'll make that perfectly clear to everybody that's hired, that wants to hire an officer.
I'd rather see our guys in Walmart on Black Friday than the deputies. I think it looks better for us. It gets our people out there, the people can see them and meet them and talk to them and all that stuff, and that's all good.
Thank you.
As long as you, Leslie, and Frank think it's fine, I think it's wonderful.
Good, thank you.
One remark is that I agree with Teresa on that they should be able to leave.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make that perfectly clear.
Okay, what you got over there? Got anything going on at the fire
Nothing.
station? Nothing?
We'll see later
All right.
on in the new business.
Just writing notes? All right. Yeah, there's a few things under new business in case anybody has questions.
Mike left us quite a nice packet.
Utilities, Kara's not here, so anybody have anything for utilities? Sanitation.
Not a thing.
Do I have anything for sanitation? Other staff reports. Kelly? Nothing? Okay. I'll open up the floor again to anyone wishing to address the council on matters that were not on the agenda tonight. Okay, we'll go to new business. Item number 1 is to consider resolution approving amendment to the West Burlington Urban Renewal Plan for the West Burlington Urban Renewal Area to facilitate the use of tax increment financing for the Broadway Street Reconstruction Realignment Project. What's your pleasure?
So moved. Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
I just want to make it clear, I don't know if people know, but this almost makes it sound like it's a brand-new TIF area, and that's not true. It's an old TIF area, it's just the state legislature changed the rules, and every time there's a new project, we have to go through this amendment process just to let people know. So just wanted to get it out there that it's not a new TIF area, it's an old TIF area that we've already spent TIF money on before, and but we just have to do this on a project-by-project basis now, so you'll see some of these all along as we do TIF projects.
And in that, Dan, you contacted the other taxing entities, correct?
Yep.
Yes, they were
Did they show
scheduled, none of them showed up.
None of them showed up.
But you just needed to say it, yeah.
Yeah, that meeting was last Thursday?
That was last week sometime, I don't remember what day it was.
So my point being that if the school or the county or the college had a problem with this, they had an opportunity and a chance to come and voice that.
Yes.
Okay.
And they will every time we do a TIF project.
Yes. And have in the past, really. We've done that same thing.
Is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Please.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Raleigh.
Aye.
Carried. Item number 2 is to consider resolution authorizing a loan agreement in the amount of $3,750,000, issuance of a general obligation urban renewal loan agreement, project note, and the principal amount not to exceed $250,000. Would be for the Public Works facility. What's your pleasure on this one?
Leslie, have any comments on this, Dan?
No, we had this figured out before, and we've talked about it over the last few meetings, that we're just borrowing that $250,000 from the bank, and we'll pay it back when we end up getting the bond in about a year. We'll pay off the bank note and roll that into the bond proceeds. And that $3.75 million is a high end, just to make sure we got it covered, anything under that, but the building should be under that price.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, should be, he said.
Well, we can't go over it now, so
Yeah,
we have to
there
have
you go.
another hearing if we do.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Crowner.
Aye.
Raleigh.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 3 is consider right-of-way use permit for Lisco. They are putting in fiber optic or some kind of cable for 2,330 feet, which will generate revenue of $582.50.
Randy has looked at the drawings and he didn't have any issues with their proposed plans.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Raleigh.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 4 is to consider installation of streetlights on Houston Street at Autumn Lane and Gear Avenue.
This is on the new mall project. This will be at Houston and the new street there where it gets kind of dark. They're going to put a new light there, pole and light, and they're going to put a lot stronger bulb on the other side of Houston and Gear to brighten up that intersection.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Motion with support. Any discussion?
Well, the note talks about doing something up on Ramsey Street too.
Yeah, that's on the school.
But we're just gonna do these for now.
Yeah, because they hadn't got a price for that yet, have you?
I thought maybe
She
you
doesn't
might
have
had
a,
something.
she doesn't have a price. I put in my memo that it should be about the same as that other light, I would think, and if it's your pleasure, if it's not more than that, or if you want me to come back, I'll come back, it doesn't matter, but,
If it's the same, do it, yeah.
you know, it should be pretty close to the same, it's a pole and a light, the same as that other, guessing it should be pretty close.
Pole's already there, so it just needs a light.
Well, then it'll be cheaper than that. Maybe that's why they didn't price it, because the pole was already there. Most of that price is gonna be the pole and setting the pole, I'm guessing. So I might not even need your approval if it's under 1,000.
Yeah.
I'll check into that and
Yeah, it's just that the pole is there, it just needs a light.
come back to you if it's over 1,000, but I'll bet it's not if all they're doing is putting a light up there.
So this motion is just for these two.
Just for the ones out yonder by the mall.
At the mall right now. Roll call.
Lees.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Raleigh.
Aye.
Motion carried. How many lights did we have burned out?
Yeah.
Did you tell me?
It's quite a
It
list.
was 31, I
We
believe.
turned them in.
Is what?
31, I think.
31?
Yeah.
Are we paying a monthly bill on those burned out lights every month?
Yep.
Well, I would suggest that we deduct this percentage until they come fix them. I mean, it's ridiculous, 31 burned out lights.
Yeah. Officer Dunham did a great job at compiling that list. There was a few of them out of that 31 that the sensor he thought was bad, because it was flickering or would go out.
That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they've told us every time we've asked them on those
Well,
flashing.
no, not really.
We might
They don't
get, we
flicker
might get a
back
better
on.
response if we only pay
Yeah, you're probably right there.
a percentage of the total
We'll
bill.
flicker
So they
our
said that
dollar.
they were gonna take 5 days on one incident that happened.
When was
And that's
that?
been 5 weeks ago.
5 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, because it's on the list now, because I told the people you don't have to call. Shouldn't
But
have to.
A lot of those lights have been out for quite a while, but I.
Well, it was probably, well, that's been a week, 2 weeks, I'll say 6 weeks that it's been
I
on
think you
there.
need to call Alliant and have a little chit chat.
I've got a decent relationship with the rep.
Yeah. Tell 'em
Squeaky
we're looking
wheel,
for a
grease.
discount.
So have we turned that list into them?
Yes.
Well, how long ago? 2 weeks?
After they got the list.
Because
right?
they were out along Mount Pleasant Street one day this week.
Within the last two, well, between that meeting and,
And this one?
it wasn't this week, so it was last week.
Well, Alliant was out along Mount Pleasant Street up working on the street light, just so you know.
Okay.
I have one thing. Also, it was just brought up, like, once a year, I think, through the past, we've always checked. Is this something the council would like me to send the guys out every 3 months and present a list? Or how often will they come out and change lights?
Well, I think every week or bi-weekly, an officer, if he's driving around in the middle of the night and sees the streetlights out, they can
Correct.
just kind of make a note of that.
Yeah.
Because they're
If you
making
notice,
money
if you
off.
notice ones that's out.
Do you know how much we?
But
Let
they're
us know.
usually watching
I don't know how
businesses.
much they are. They don't have a meter, so they're estimate.
They're grouped together.
Well, they're like, it used to be, this years ago, I think they were like $8 a month, a light. So we're talking a pretty good chunk.
They gave us a fact sheet, so whenever there's one out, if we can get you just a stack of them, and if an officer sees one out, they can write it in and fax it. That's all we have to do is we called him, and then I think it wasn't Nancy, but it was the guy-
Daryl.
Daryl gave us that. He wanted us to notify them that way, which we've been doing all along. It's just whenever we kind of wait till somebody complains about one, and
Okay, I'll have the officers start checking regularly.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
West,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Raleigh,
Aye?
Lees.
Aye.
Carried.
Actually, I think we just did that.
Did we?
We did that.
Well, then we did it twice.
Yep, make sure.
Everybody voted the same.
Well, that's a plus.
Well, item number 5 is consider contract with Suburban Fire Development to provide fire service training.
Why is it called Halligan?
It's just a tool that we have, that we
The name of the tool is Halligan, for ripping through a wall or,
doors mainly, forcible entry. Just new, faster, quicker, safer ways to get indoors. You can't just mule kick a door anymore.
Now speak up low because I can barely hear you.
yeah, you don't have a mic.
You ain't got a mic.
They just teach us new, quicker, faster ways and safer ways to get in buildings and doors.
I just told Lynette a little while ago that I would never consider being a fireman, but I sure wouldn't mind attending this class. This would be fun.
We had a couple people go out of town and take it, and they loved it. Tried to teach us some of it, but it's easier just they come down and teach everybody.
What, will you build some walls, or do you go find a house that?
They bring their own props.
And this, you guys have decided this is more expensive than the other, so you're doing this.
If we bring them in-house, everybody can go through it
Yeah.
for the same price instead of shipping 3 off for close to the same price.
He's moving the monies around there, the budget, pump operation class, he's using some different monies, but I'm not gonna micromanage the fire department.
And it's still training money, so
Yep.
it's under the same line.
Fine.
So moved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Wes?
Aye.
Crowner?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
It's twice in a row I went first. I never did.
Carried. Oh, this thing. Why does that do that? My screen went from 100% down to
Yeah, mine did too.
50%. Oops.
That's weird.
That's Brad's fault.
I don't know whose fault it is. It's probably mine for not running the
No, mine did the same thing as soon as I switched pages there.
Yeah. Number 7, or number 6, it is consider purchase of tires for the fire department, engine 3.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support, it would cost from Bauer Built for $3,509.98. Any discussion?
It's under the budgeted amount, so.
Roll call.
Crowner?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
Wes?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 7 is to consider resolution hiring Lynette Fine as a firefighter. Take it that's you, Lynette. Okay.
So moved.
Speech.
I got a motion with support. Is there any discussion?
Just thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming to our meeting so we can try to recognize faces.
You have a elementary education, are you teaching anywhere? Where at?
I teach A3 special ed at Evanston.
You know, my daughter, Summer West, she just started student teaching there this last week. You'll meet her.
Roll call.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
Wes?
Aye.
Crowner?
Aye.
Motion carried. Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're getting into yet. Item number 8 is to consider accepting the audited financial statements for fiscal year 2012. I'd like to table it for everybody to have a chance to
Make
go
a
through
motion to
those.
table number 8 until the next meeting.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Aye. Sorry. I just knew you were gonna call me first. Aye.
Wes?
Aye.
Crowner?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Don't have anything under old business. Anyone wishing to address council matters we did discuss or didn't discuss tonight? Everybody jumping up. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.